She's just a homeless veteran, my sister screamed in court. But when I placed a paper on the judge's desk, he said only, lock the doors, no one leaves this room. Dad turned away, Mom trembled, and my sister froze. Update 3, I want the truth about the house, I said, voice low but sharp. You knew what Grandpa left me. You witnessed the signing. He shifted his weight. That document was outdated. Circumstances changed. Enough to falsify my name. Enough to hide it under a shell company. I stepped closer. I have audio. That got him. His jaw tensed, eyes narrowing, but still, he wouldn't look directly at me. I heard your voice. You said if I found out, you'd cut the tie. He finally turned toward me then, his eyes colder than I remembered. I meant what I said. We've tried to protect the family. Your return jeopardizes everything we've built. Your sister is part of a respected enterprise. You live in a car, because you sold my residence. He didn't answer, just glanced toward the black SUV parked across the lot. I'm not ashamed of what I've done, I said. But you are, of me. That's what this is really about. He stepped back, adjusting his cuffs like brushing off dirt. You're not one of us anymore. The words didn't echo, they landed and stayed. He turned, walked to the SUV, and the driver stepped out to open the door. I recognized the man immediately, the same one who'd helped unload boxes at the warehouse. Bald head, silver watch, always silent. They drove off without another word. I stood alone in the rain. It started as a drizzle, then turned heavier, soaking through my sleeves, my collar, my soul. There was no reuniting waiting in the story, just truth. And that was colder than anything I'd faced in service dress. I walked back to my car, chest tight, throat burning, every breath a silent argument I couldn't win. I didn't cry, but I did find an envelope, wedged beneath my windshield wipe. It wasn't official, just a plain manila sleeve, sealed with tape. I got in, turned on the cabin light, and opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a photocopy of my grandfather's original will, my name, the property address, all unaltered. The signature dates matched the copy I had stored in an encrypted archive from years ago. No transfer clause, no sale condition. It was airtight. A handwritten note was stapled to the top. I notarized this document that day. I know they falsified it later. I stared at it, heart pounding. The first crack in their narrative. I scanned it again, then snapped a picture and texted it to Sarah with a single line. This changes everything. I sat in the corner of my temporary rental, bare mattress, one chair, no curtains, lit only by the blue light of my laptop. Outside, the night wind rattled loose, siding. Inside, my stomach churned as I stared at the report Ben just sent over. I had reached out hours earlier, forwarding the original deed, and the scanned will along with the corporate trail Sarah had begun discovering. He'd responded almost instantly. I remember Raven Holdings, he wrote. We flagged them as a front company during a 2012 counterintel probe, channeling false contracting dark money, but we were told to stand down. Case was sealed. The name Daniel Keene was staring back at me, listed under consultant, logistics, in the appendix of that same file. I froze. Olivia had always insisted Daniel saved the family from collapse. He rebuilt Dad's business. Without him we'd have lost everything. No wonder she protected him so fiercely, but rebuild with what? Dirty money. I opened the next PDF from Sarah, transaction records tied to the shell companies leasing the warehouse. She'd traced them to 3 entities, each registered in Nevada, under different names, but the money flowed to one destination, Olivia's private account. Over $500,000 transferred in the past 18 months. I clenched my jaw, and pulled up the leasing contract. Found the name of the property manager. I didn't need to read past the first line. My father's signature, bold and slanted, was right there. Land use supervisor, he had signed off on it, so they were all in it. All 3 of. I ran a background index on Raven Holdings, through the private intel portal Ben still had access to. The tags were condemning, classified contractor cover, suspected financial funnel, domestic asset misuse. Ben pinged again. You sure you're ready for this? If you move they'll hit back. I replied without hesitation. I'm not backing off. I'm not just fighting for a house. I'm fighting to expose what they've done and who they're still hurting. I called Sarah. She picked up immediately. I had the contractor names, the bank routing, the signed everything links, and the forgery matches. My signature was copied from a tax return in 2017, notarized by a woman who hasn't been licensed since 2020. I already verified Sarah was silent a moment. Then we file for deception, criminal conspiracy, real estate title tampering, possibly federal racketeering if the Raven Holdings connection holds. It holds. For the first time since I'd returned I felt grounded, not angry, not broken, focused. They wiped me out, I said, but now I found them on paper, in crime files, in signatures they forgot to hide. My inbox chimed. A leak, subject urgent, she's investigating. It was an internal email sent between 2 Raven Holdings addresses. Someone had forwarded it anonymously. She started connecting the dots. Clean house before the 16th. Lock down the CLA counts. The Hale girls persistent. I read it twice. They knew, they were already trying to erase the trail again. I stood at the gate again, this time in service dress decorated with honor, but beside me was someone more powerful than medals. My lawyer, Sarah, adjusted the strap of her leather case as we waited at the counter inside Favorks Town Hall. Sunlight poured through the high windows, but the tension between us and the property office clerk was thick as cement. The clerk tapped her keyboard, eyes darting across the screen. "This title is active," she said almost too casually. Sarah didn't flinch. "That's precisely why we're here. We're filing a petition for immediate injunction on all transfers based on compelling evidence of forgery and deception." I slid forward the folder Sarah had prepared, detailed analysis of the signature inconsistencies, the timeline of the false notary, and the suspicious account trails. At the top of the stack sat the verified original deed from my grandfather's will. The woman's eyes wide. She looked at Sarah, then at me. "Lieutenant Colonel Hale," I said softly, "retired. I grew up in that house." By noon we had a stamped confirmation. The land office had enacted a temporary hold on all transactions related to the property pending further investigation. It wasn't everything, but it was a start. A line in the sand. The drive to the house felt surreal. This time, we didn't park across the street or lurk in shadows. We pulled straight into the driveway. Olivia's Lexus was already there, Daniel's truck too. Sarah adjusted her jacket, pulled out the official envelope with the injunction, and handed it to me. "Let's give it to her together." I rang the bell. Olivia answered, her lips already curled into that polished, performative smile, until she saw my service dress. Then she saw Sarah. The color drained from her face. "We're here to serve you with a court injunction," Sarah said crisply, handing over the envelope. "Effective immediately, any transfer, lease, or modification of the property is suspended. You've been notified."